It's Spoilerin time, folks. This is the show born of Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we talk about how to watch things, where to watch things, what's coming out. Then we watch some of them and we talk about them here without having to worry about spoiling something, because we're going to tell you, we're going to spoil something. This time, we're going to talk about Miami Vice, Season 4, Episode 7, Missing Hours, starring James Brown and Chris Rock. We're also talking about Season 1, Episode 7 of Silo and Season 3 of I Think You Should Leave. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
So do I begin with an apology? Is that what we do?
Oh, wow. No, there's like nobody is going to hold it against you that you were vomiting your guts out and missed Spoilerin time last week.
I definitely did. For anybody who was not there on the live stream, I paused and I said, I'm going to leave now because of biology. And then I walked off set. I apologize.
And we 1000% understood. Thankfully, Ashley Esqueda was nice enough to step up and join us on the 2 episodes of Spoilerin time that she had watched. And it was great. So we missed you, but it was not a disaster. We were
all
able to
Brian's opinions, like tears in rain. Gone because I wasn't there. Like,
perfect reference.
I've seen spoilers on fire. All
right. I've seen spoilers over on Ryan's shoulder.
Right. Let's talk about I Think You Should Leave Season 3. Did they once again capture the magic of Tim Robinson's humor for you, Brian?
I have a theory on this, and
did you buy stickers for your car after the driving crooner?
Okay. The Beatles, Saturday Night Live. Tim Robinson's comedy is it is a performance of lyricism, of rhythm, it is perfect. It is very good. I like it very, very much. Now, eventually, the Beatles catalog gets big enough that it's hard for me to remember all of the individual songs and on which album they appeared. Saturday Night Live, at 48 years now, it becomes hard for me to remember which season, which sketch, which whatever. I completed this season, loving every second of it, cackling until I had tears in my eyes. And by the time season 3 was over, I was like, somebody asked me what my favorite sketch was, and I was like, oh, what happened? And went back and I watched the entire thing again. And every single sketch was, oh, yeah, that's a good one. And then I swear to God, minutes ago, before we went live, I went back and I had to look at a Slash Film article saying just the 16 top episode or sketches ranked. And even then, I went through those and I was like, oh, that was a good one. This is a great season. Turns out this is great music. Will I remember which music occurred on which season and all that stuff? It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Tim Robinson, one of the greatest. Everybody who works on the show is great. Everybody's funny. Everybody who makes a guest appearance is doing it for the right reasons. They're all in on the joke. I loved it.
I know what you're saying, which is, this season did not have me barking to talk about it as much as other seasons, only because I've seen the other seasons. The first season had me running to talk to people and say, oh my gosh, did you see this? Did you see that? I can't believe he did that. Season 2 had me saying, hey, he did this other thing. And he did a thing like the other thing in the first season. Season 3 was more of a, I know what I came here for. This is my favorite restaurant. I ordered the food I wanted and I got it and it was delicious. But you don't run out of that restaurant after the 5th time through, or the 3rd time through, I guess, and rave about it as much as you do the first time. And that's not because it's not as good. It's that you've come to expect it. And I feel like that explains some of what you're talking about, because there were a few things that came up later that I then retold, and those stuck in my mind. But because I wasn't running and talking to people as much about it, not as many of them stuck in my mind. The one that definitely stuck in my mind was the drive-through, the paying it forward. That's one. Eileen doesn't really watch these. And that was the one where I'm like, oh, I have to tell you about this one. It's really funny.
55 burgers, 55 fries, 55 shakes, 100 cokers, 100 potatoes, 155 potatoes.
You're rich, just pay it.
I think part of the reason it's more memorable is because it has visuals that are like, in order for you to create a mental map and reconstruct that sketch, you have to picture an exterior shot and cars racing around and people shouting things or whatever. Whereas many of the other sketches, you could just picture people talking to each other and it gets a little bit fuzzier. Similar to what was the game show where Metal Man had to, people pick the color.
climb
and
the
it's
wall.
those were very specific visuals. Or, and I know everyone's thinking about it, a certain pig with a Nixon mask on it. Those are the ones that lodge themselves. But at some point, you just get overwhelmed with so much talented, lyrical, rhythmic comedy. It's so good. Bryce, how many sketches should I have mentioned that I've failed to? Oh, the VR. the
VR
of
one
VR.
was good. Oh
Yeah.
Breathe. A lot of game shows. A lot of
Yeah.
What was the commercial from that for the first episode?
Oh, see, it's happening. Oh, I'm so glad. It's not because I'm old. Take that, Dad. I turned into a Tim Robinson sketch.
Great. But yeah, it's really solid, and it's a good problem that they all run together in that they're all really good.
The doctor monitoring the patient's heart in episode 3 was another one that like I found myself thinking a little more about later because it was just such a great meta commentary on
There's been a loss in the club community.
your medical doctor, but what if they really just wanted to get in the most exclusive club?
Kim Kardashian's head fell off.
I've started asking like random people. I'm really glad that the show has risen to prominence enough that I can ask randos, are you familiar with it? And I pay a lot of attention to what people notice. And today I was eating at Torchy's and the guy behind the counter was like, oh my God, yeah, I just binged all of it. And I was like, so what was the best episode of or sketch of season 3? And he goes, the one with the dating reality show and
the zip line,
right? And that's the beauty of it, is the conceit is rarely the best part of it, right? For example, the Nixon pig one is, the conceit was a dog door, and I barely remember the dog door, but I remember the Nixon pig thing.
Oh, right. That was an ad. That was an ad
correct.
for the dog door. Yeah. I actually forgotten that's how that started as well. Brian, how did you take the one about not talking about your kids?
Oh, well, again, what that really was about Tim Robinson just jumping in front of bullets constantly in front of Jason Schwartzman, right? But instead you ostensibly make it about like, I don't want to talk about kids. No, it's fine. They're all great. In fact, I watched it with my kids. That's how much I enjoyed it.
Don Bondarley is a classic example of a reference to a Tim Robinson sketch where the sketch is actually not one of the strongest ones, but it's just a funny name.
And also it's a single frame comic. It's like a New Yorker or a Family Circus where it's like, you say those syllables in that order, and I have one picture in my mind of old guy can't remember dirty
and
songs.
There's going to be a moment where I'll be like, oh, what are you, Don Bondarley? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gonna fit
which
the
is why
situation.
I think you should leave as a good love language because once you as a matter of fact, that was the one thing the guy behind the counter said. He said it was the weirdest thing. I watched this show by myself and I didn't like it very much. Then I watched the exact same episodes with a friend and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And I think that is the magic of it. I think nobody should ever have to watch this show by themselves. If you're thinking about watching it by yourself, do everyone a favor and don't, because then you'll become sad.
I watched it by myself.
Oh no!
It's really it's kind of ableist of you, Brian. This is like co-ed watching ableist something. The alone
Still
watchers,
enjoyed it.
the alone laughers,
Like
the hardest MFers in New York, the alone laughers.
No, I thought it was great. And I think you should think it was great too. Any other thoughts on I think you should leave?
No.
That is, I Think You Should Leave, season 3. Let's talk about Silo, season 1, episode 7. I'm still enjoying this show quite a bit. And in fact, I really liked the Flamekeepers episode because we got a little lore. We got a little peek. Got to look at a book about Georgia. I was hoping we were going to then lead up to a nice like episode ending revelation, which we sort of did, but it wasn't I really want us to move this story forward faster. And maybe that's just me. How are you guys feeling about it?
Bryce, I'll let you go first.
I'm in the same boat, Tom. Like I like what we're doing. I can be along for the ride. I'm trying to get into, the very particular ways that this world is set up, and clearly there's a big house of cards that they want to topple. But boy, relics, yeah. There's questions. Do you remember there's questions? There's relics.
Oh, yeah, we got more relics. One of the relics has might be construed as a bit of an answer, maybe someday.
There was a hard drive. There was the hard. Remember we haven't talked about the hard drive in 4 episodes.
Now we got the hard drive back. We also saw the secret. There's a secret government. There's a power above the mayor.
Oh right, the janitors. It seems like, or whoever controls the janitorial staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think all of that is great. And I think maybe this should have been a 30-minute show because we're really not using the density of these scripts.
Yeah.
In a great way. Brian, how are you feeling about Silo?
I think all y'all are crazy. This is the greatest show I've seen on Apple TV. It's better than season 3 of Ted Lasso. It is the closest we're going to get to a proper Fallout TV adaptation. I think that all of the visuals are rich, delicious, and beautiful. And I think if you're focusing on the revelations, your eyes are not on the prize, because the prize is the twisting tension of how she's gonna get out of this screwed up situation that she's in. She knows that they know that she knows that they know that all of that stuff. She figured out that there's such a thing as, like, keep in mind, they literally don't know the word cameras. They say, the thing that makes the outside look, maybe thing behind mirror? Like, they literally don't know what stars are, and they're figuring, oh my God, do I love this. It is so, so good. Y'all's crazy, crazy, crazy. It's the tension, not the twists.
No, it's both. It's both.
The tension's not good when nothing happens. The whole thing is a twist. It's one big staircase, Brian. It's right there in front of you the whole time. Also, I disagree about the visuals. It's concrete city every day, brown, gray rooms, dark concrete rooms. That's, I don't know.
That's real though. That's it would be weird if they had bright,
it would be weird if it was an
stuff.
Interesting to look at show, I guess.
I still think it's actually pretty interesting, but in a post-apocalyptic kind of way. I like that gestalt though.
It's just, I don't feel the tension. Like I get what you're saying, Bri. Like the tension would be solid if I didn't feel like I saw it. Like the dramatic irony of it all is really tough to deal with. Like I see it. Like I can, hey stuff, and we're slowly waiting for the characters to catch up.
I can't disagree with a single thing you said, Brian. I want revelations not that dispense tension, but that amplify it. I feel like there might be some things that would like make the stakes feel even more pressing.
All right, well, let me give you a few tasty treats from a character perspective. To be honest, I think the right analog for this is not any kind of adventure show, although it is kind of presenting itself as an adventure show. To me, this is like The Shield. Like, for example, how do you feel about the deputy who's supposed to become sheriff? Do you trust him? No. Or not? You know he's picked by judicial. You know that's who the powers that be want.
And he has a lovely family, and he seems reliable. Right. But I don't fully trust him.
Okay. What about Tim Robbins' character, head of IT? How do you feel?
He's a complex character who's self-interested, very definitely an alcoholic, and will just sell himself to the highest bidder.
Okay. And then so you have the judge that you meet, who is obviously trapped in the Matrix.
Who I thought was the baddie. And then,
correct.
We learned
it turns out she's just trapped. You have that wonderful moment where, again, a good magic trick. You have that aha moment of, oh, wait, it was in front of me the entire time. They did it. I thought they did a fine job of saying we have to give her enough time to sober up from the drugs, and they kept the emphasis on the sobering up from the drugs, and then finally it's like, wait, what if you could stimulate her awake? And then that became a little bit different. It was a minor beat, but
right. And then it turns out that she can't trust her dad, but her dad is not trying to hide that. He's
correct.
like, I had no
He's
choice.
like, no, I'm imprisoned here. What did you think?
They told me to do it, and I did it. It's not because of I'm in on it.
And her dad all but says, I'm kind of glad you're an adult now, so now you understand just how trapped and screwed we all are. I don't know, all of this stuff. I'm loving all of this. And as nothing.
It's why all of those are reasons why I'm still enjoying watching it. It's just when we went through all of the, like, let's wake her up. We've seen the book. The book was kind of a fun one at the end. I wanted another tidbit, not even an answer, just another piece.
What? This isn't the last episode this week, is it?
No, I don't think there's anything.
You know, I always get that answer wrong.
Okay, all right. Well,
I believe we've got 3 more episodes.
The reason I ask it that way is because many times we see people,
3 more episodes.
Intentionally take. Okay, so we have 3 more. Okay, so it could be that they're holding something back to give us like a run.
Oh, I know they are. Yeah. You're right about that.
What if they held less stuff back?
Yeah.
What if they?
Give me some more
and I think that's the
pieces. Give me
difference,
some more
Bryce, is that what you see as tedious gray, I think as so punk rock. Like in a world where the way, if you're making television, you want to make it bright and colorful or whatever, but to resist doing that, that's something I can't do. And so as a result, I just so respect watching other people do it to give us those drab, painful tableaus. Oh, I love them.
Any other thoughts on Silo?
No, I think it's
Salad.
That is Silo Season 1, Episode 7. And now we get to the pièce de résistance of Spoilerin time. Miami Vice, Season 4, Episode 7, Missing Hours, which Wikipedia told me was interesting because James Brown guests in it. And then we started watching it and realized that Chris Rock has a bigger part than James Brown in this episode.
practically a starring role.
Yeah. Bryce, you were saying you found reference that it was his first TV role.
Yeah, that's what I believe is the case. It's his first time on TV, and it's Chris Rock. It's still Chris Rock. You know?
It's absolutely, like, the minute he opened his mouth, I was like, wait a minute, I know that voice. Yeah.
Oh, what's funny is like I saw his name in the credits, and I did the thing where I leapt forward. I did the Wolf of Wall Street meme, and then I hit back, and I was like, did I just see that name? No way. So Bryce,
Hello.
How much did you love the bright, beautiful, colorful nature of this particular episode?
Miami Vice knows how to use aesthetics. I'm just kidding. This is hey guys, what the hell is this episode?
I don't even.
Is it a dream? Is it a
I
dream?
couldn't decide if this is like a really early prototype X-Files or Scooby-Doo turned into Miami Vice, or maybe a little bit of both.
I mean, to be honest, I suppose we should bring everybody up to speed. If you ain't seen it, maybe go see it. If you ain't gonna see it, then at least hear this summary.
Keep listening.
It's literally a 5-season arc summary of what would become the X-Files. The idea of what if UFO sightings was not actual UFOs and aliens, but instead a big Cold War distraction away from the real powers that be, which also the X-Files turned out to factually be accurate down the road as they continued to release more and more Cold War footage. And there are documents indicating that the United States realized that it's better for the Russians to believe we have alien weapons technology and to have people talking about that and not about nuclear disarmament or whatever.
You're jumping to the end of the episode.
Yes.
90% of this episode is leading you on to think, I don't know, maybe it really is an alien abduction. Like, how do you explain the disappearing body? How do you explain Trudy seeing herself and the sky and James Brown's face? Because we're going to break every time with Trudy seeing herself and the sky and James Brown's face. And all the tropes, missing time and the burned patch or the shaven patch with a puncture wound, all of that stuff. And I know, I'm like, Miami Vice isn't going to tell me there's aliens, but I was actually expecting a more clever response in the end than, you know, the two men in suits being like, yeah, you're getting too close to the truth here, buddy. You better just hush this up.
Allow me to state unequivocally, this is an awful episode of the show Miami Vice.
By awful, you mean awfully fun?
No, I mean awfully confusing.
Enjoyable?
I mean the entire last 3 minutes make no sense, and I have no idea what they mean. They appear to be a segment of the movie Creepshow or Creepshow 2, as best I can tell.
What is the peanut butter?
I mean, it's a thing crazy people part of
Because
this
the guy had a bag full of peanut butter, and then she had peanut butter in her desk drawer at the end.
Okay, I mean the unfortunate.
I thought the peanut butter was going to be explained as like, oh, that's how they were drugging people, but they didn't even go that far. It was just they have peanut butter.
Well, if it was I mean, they're making it seem like it was all a dream, right? It's all a dream. She remembered the photo, and she had some peanut butter in her desk, and that was.
Oh right, because the photo
did
was
not
back in the
read it
desk
that
drawer.
way. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So she dreamed.
Do you think it was aliens?
It was just bad
She
peanut butter.
dreamed the parts of the TV show that she wasn't even in. She dreamed Crockett and Tubbs's lines and interactions,
Yes.
and everybody
Very intense
whispering.
dream.
Okay, all right.
Yes. What? Yes.
All right.
Did you see all the other stuff? Did you see how they got like? Oh my
How
god.
else do you explain Chris Rock being an employee of Miami Vice? It was a dream, obviously.
There is one thing I'll be curious to find out if you guys noticed. We were talking earlier about another show that plays not enough with color for Bryce's taste.
Oh my goodness.
But there's an entire scene. Did you notice that literally every single item in the room when she talks to the doctor and comes out of hypnosis is white? Including the doctor's outfit is all shades of gray.
Well,
and her partner, she is the only she is the only garment that is of any color at all is her green dress.
That was
Is her hair different in every scene except the beginning and the end?
It does seem like it is inconsistent.
Because she's got the sort of like teased up tall hair at the beginning when they're trying to catch the guy. And then when she shows up at the boat for the first time, she's got the straightened hair that's down on the sides, and it stays that way until that weird ending episode when she wakes up and it's back to being teased and high.
Which, by the way, all of that feeds into both of your increasingly accurate assertion that this is a dream, because that's the way, dreams you just don't question. You're like, oh, that's happening now. Okay.
As for the all-white stuff, I know that was a part of, because Miami Vice did have a very distinctive look and color palette, and part of it was using a lot of whites, not using earthy colors. So you don't see a lot of red. That's why he drives a white Ferrari. So I think that that helps create the otherworldliness of it, because we've seen all of those cheap studio scenes before in other Miami Vice episodes, but this one does feel weird partly because of that.
Maybe that's what they were going
curious-
for is to, like, they looked at the style Bible and then they said, what rules can we break to make it clear that this is all a dream?
Though I don't think they broke any, is what I'm saying. I think
But
that's
the
all
doctor's
part
office
of it.
would have been consistent, not breaking it. So that's, yeah.
Oh,
lots of white.
Well, I mean, it was like, I don't know, if you were going to do a Bruce Almighty scene with, God's office, like that's how white everything was. It was ridiculous.
I wonder also why he wasn't named James Brown.
I would
Since
imagine
they
it's
used the
because he
song.
ran a cult that defrauded people out of their money and was shown to be a sham of a lie funded by the government. And maybe James Brown thought, I would prefer my name not be associated with that. So they made up
I just
another
want my music and my image associated with it, but certainly not my name.
Correct. That's what I thought.
All right.
Yeah, it's weird because
Then
he's
why
named.
let them
but-
use I Feel Good?
Because he owns it and because it will make him money, but he would prefer that the name James Brown not be
All right.
associated with a sham fraudulent cult that is funded by the government in order to defraud people.
Lou DeLong.
They even made a fake vinyl slip
Yeah.
and everything. I don't know. Also, apparently, that's the song "I Feel Good" is not credited in that episode either.
Oh, interesting.
Which
it's
who
all
knows? It
over
could be
the
like
episode.
it could wasn't there like a legal reason like Michael Jackson wasn't credited in The Simpsons?
Yes.
Partly. And so I bet there's something very similar.
The
to that.
agreement was like they were able to, the agents were able to get him for voice talent, but not for music talent. So they had somebody else sing the song.
Which could be the same thing here. Like, hey, just steal the song and we'll all hand wave it. I don't know.
I mean, he obviously was okay with whatever they did because he was in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like many guest actors was the bad guy, a bad guy, I guess.
Yeah, that was usually the guest role, so that wasn't specific to him.
I just can't express how bonkers this was.
It really was. This was like, I'm watching Miami Vice. Am I though?
In fact, I texted you guys because they go back to the same quarry that anytime anything explodes, they always have to be in the same quarry. And I sent you a screen grab and I was like, I wonder if something's about to blow up. And by the way, there's a bunch of like oil drums.
No, to be fair, there was an explosion, but there was a car crash. Our car,
Yeah,
Correct.
They're using it for the car crash, not the explosion this time, because the car might explode during the car crash, though it did not. Also, I think it's worth pointing out that we had a little cosplay at the very beginning with Chris Rock's character and Izzy.
Oh, those neither of those were Chris Rock. Both of those were.
Oh, that was not Chris Rock. That was Charlie Barnett, I guess.
Yeah, I think both of those guys were some of the like low-level criminals who were just hanging out with vices lately.
Izzy was the guy in the sword.
He was the Latino, and the black guy. I got the impression was another one.
I think you're right. That was Neville Lamont. That would be Charlie Barnett.
Yeah. But man, it was...
even that sting didn't make any sense. Like they're working with these guys and they're having them steal wallets, and that's how they're investigating.
No.
Because they go through the wallets afterwards.
They're complaining about the fact that because they're undercover, they know they can get away with petty crimes and they can't stop them. So they're doing it to taunt the police. And yes, they know that they're going to confiscate all of the wallets at the end, but at least they were able to mess with the man right in front of their faces the entire time.
But then they go through the wallets as like a part of their investigation.
Well, no, I think they were just returning. They were going through the wallets to identify them and return them.
Right,
That was
so they could send them
unrelated
back
to
to
the
everyone.
investigation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
It was an unnecessarily complex bit.
To get the porn dealer?
Got him.
Yes.
The porn dealer
Here
with
comes
the
the porn
bag
dealer.
full of peanut butter.
The porn.
And then I was confused. Was that the porn dealer or was it the two guys behind him?
I thought it was.
And
I thought it was him.
Oh, I thought it was the guy behind the guy.
I thought it was him at first. And then later, when they're talking about the investigation, they mentioned like, and then this guy has a heart attack and we can't get the porn dealer. And I was like, oh, I guess that wasn't the porn dealer. It was the guys behind him.
I mean, to be honest, if I were to time travel back to whatever year this was made, I might make the decision that, come on, guys, ain't nobody there for the first act going to be there by the second. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's TV, people.
Well, and especially because I'm just saying, like, it's all loose. It all feels like loose is set up because of the dreamlike nature of it.
Oh, yeah.
God, was that bizarre.
When did she fall asleep?
Oh.
And
was she alive during any of it?
I mean, I can tell you when I fell asleep shortly after hitting play. This is a weird one, guys. So weird.
Yeah, this was I would say of the ones we've watched, and we haven't watched all of them, this is the weirdest one we watched.
The very end when they show up in that awesome cigarette boat, and then they try to leave and it won't start. And I thought to myself, how wildly irresponsible is it to send two police on a boat that may or may, like you die when you're just adrift at sea. I don't know. It was
well, but you aren't expecting an electromagnetic pulse from an unidentified alien aircraft to disable your boat.
I can't even. This was a very weird.
But how did they know to turn the no sign on the no vacancy sign on when we rolled up? And did you notice that the guys who stole the lady, those little green men, were bathed in green light?
I did not.
No, I did not notice that. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, there's a hidden message in this episode, right?
I can't even. So this would have been, if I was to guess, I would guess this was what, 87, 88, right around the time that Whitley Strieber releases Communion, the science fiction writer who suddenly releases a nonfiction book explaining.
November 13th, 1987 is when this episode aired.
Called it. That was in the Gestalt. Yep. Yeah. Okay. All right. It tracks.
It was, I mean, we periodically have UFO crazes. Whitley Strieber's was not the first, nor is it the last, since we're currently in another one. But yeah, this is at the peak of one of those for sure. So Miami Vice moving on the Gestalt. That makes sense. All right, that is Miami Vice season 4, episode 7, Missing Hours. Next week, we will be watching episode 8 of Silo. We will be watching the first 2 episodes of the 3rd season of Righteous Gemstones. Righteous Gemstones returning. And we're going to do another Miami Vice episode, 2 in a row. This one is season 4, episode 8. So the one that comes right after Missing Hours, called Like a Hurricane. I can only hope that it's got the Scorpions in the soundtrack. It does, however, star Sheena Easton and a man known only as Teller. That's coming up next week on Spoilerin Time. Thank you, everyone, for being with us, for supporting the show. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. You get these episodes a little early if you do that. And you also get our After Talk podcast, where we talk about the behind the scenes of the show. So support us there. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll spoil you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.